well, isn't this a beautiful subject to paint? I just love the shape of him. I photographed him in Turkey. I'm going to put just a little bit of background in, just a tiny bit around here. So we're just wet with clear water. Just bring that down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of burnt umber and a little bit of French ultramarine into that. So I still want it to be brown, but just sort of grey brown, and keeping it quite pale. And that's going to dry to almost nothing when it dries, because we've got quite a lot of water on underneath. And I'm also going to do a little bit of splattering whilst that's wet, and I'm going to use some of the French ultramarine blue on my toothbrush, and just and that will just give it an interesting texture at the moment. Okay, let's wait for that to dry, and then we can make a start on this beautiful camel. Size 16 brush, and let's do some of these bits. Just break it down like we would with a car journey. So there's some raw sienna here, and we'll put the darks in a minute. Light's hitting that quite a lot, and sort of a little bit of this colour in here. And then I'm going into the burnt umber whilst that's still wet. Water it down for where we want it lighter. The light's sort of really hitting here. It's just a hint of colour. Pull that out so that's even lighter. All the colours are sort of blending, and that's really good. We've got that red. Now I'm going to go a little bit brighter with the red. So I'm going to go for a cadmium red and just get a lot of colour into this. A bit of a alizarin crimson as we come down there. That bit's a bit darker. And a little bit of French ultramarine. Put that next to it. So it's not the same patterns that we've got on there, but it just gives us that feeling of a Turkish rug. And something there that's quite nice to keep that in there. We always add some colour to this in a bit if we need to. Okay, so we've painted that really quickly, not thinking too much, but it looks exactly as it should do. As I was drying, I had a bit of splatter that was accidental. Now sometimes these are happy accidents. And I think what I might do when I finished is add some red splatter across that. So I'm going to leave that for the moment. Not all is bad when these things happen. Right. Let's start to put him in. We're going to keep this really, really loose. So his nose is quite light, so very watery raw sienna. And just around the edges, I'm just going to put a little bit of French ultramarine blue. And then I'm going to use some burnt sienna for his colour. A little bit watered down. Sort of comes down there. Add more water if we need to. The light's pretty good there, really hitting him. Wow, He's gorgeous. A little bit of that on there. Then I'm going to use some sepia. Just catch that whilst it's wet. Just the feel of the shape of what really hairy fur. Back into that. And then back to the sepia. Here. So we're keeping it really loose. But what I'm wanting is it to be very much a reflection of him. Now this is very dark here, so that's sepia, and a little bit lighter there, but not that much. And I'm going to add into the sepia some of the French ultramarine blue. So we've got some blues coming through in places. So I just like those different colours. Back to the sepia. I'll put some white toes on in a while if we need to. It's darker there. The dark shape there. And they're just slightly more brown. His back legs. We'll see how quickly we're painting them in. It's just going together so quickly. Keeping to the shapes that we've drawn, but using the brush very lightly and very quickly. Back to the blue. And I think the thing to do there is to just let that dry, and then we can just see how we need to tidy it. I'm just going to grab my little brush, my size 10, and I'm going to put some of the darker shapes in. Now I don't want to make this tight and fiddly because I'm really loving the looseness that we've got so far. So let's put in that dark shape down there. That's a bit of a shape there. We've got a girl that can be, I think, a French ultramarine burnt umber just mixed together. So it's grey. And the light's hitting it, so just tease that out so it's quite a soft edge. Put the dark in a minute. There's some little dark bits underneath there, so some sepia, I think. Just squint, look at the dark shapes. Straggly bits on there. We don't want to put every single bit in, but the occasional one will be quite nice. Just going to dip that sepia into my alizarin crimson, just darken that shape there slightly. And I think it might be nice for some of this around his face to actually be red, because it just looks a bit strange otherwise. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that really helps. Now we get some blue marks into there, so some alizarin crimson, just dot along the edges. So we're just being very quick. Sort of like a ribbon. I think it might be nice to have a little bit of raw sienna in that too. it's really starting to come on. Now I think the face. So some sepia, just for those few definite shapes. And that nostril. It's some nostril, isn't it? It just comes under like that. And he's smiling. And then we've got a bit of an eye here that we can't see too much. Just put in the dark shape and the dark shape from that ear. I'm just loving him. He's coming on really well. Some wispy bits, but not too many. Sort of just the shape that fur's sitting around there, and we don't need to do loads and loads because the danger is you could really overdo this. I'm putting a little bit of a wash over where his knees are a little bit sore, and I'm going to do some thicker French ultramarine and burnt umber just for the darks on his feet. Around there, and then a little bit of the rich sepia. Such lovely shapes, aren't they, these legs? And a few marks there for that sort of shape, I think. And a little bit of blue, I think, rather than white. There's a little hole there. And a very dark underneath the bell with the burnt umber, French ultramarine. I really like the feel for that. Now, the danger is that I'm going to carry on doing too much. And we really just want to keep it as simple as we can. So I think the next thing is to put in a bit of a shadow. So I use the 16 brush, some French ultramarine, burnt umber. Although it was really sunny being Turkey, there's hardly any shadow showing. So I've just made up a shadow because we've got to anchor him down. And that can sort of come off like that. Right, I've just turned the reference photograph and him upside down, and with my size 16 brush, if you look, you can see there's a bit of dark shadow here that I've not put in. So I'm using some burnt umber, quite watered down, and we just put the shape of that comes from sort of there, just pop that over. It's much easier to see those darker shapes when you've got it upside down. There's a bit there, that's obviously much darker. I'll go for some sepia watered down. So it's just a sort of hint going over there, look all around. Yeah, that's darker there. It's so much easier when it's upside down to see what you're doing. Soften that, I don't want any hard lines really. That comes round. So a little bit of shadow underneath there. And we'll turn it back the right way, and then hopefully that will be spot on. Yeah, that's great. So get that dry, and then we'll go for some more splattering. I don't want the red to be dot splattering. What I would like is for it to be some of those lines. So clean my brush of the blue, and I'm going to dip into the cadmium red. And I'm just going to go like that. And that's him. That's quite nice. Doing it close, you also get some more definite lines. And a little bit of blue, I think, into that as well. More here. So let's go for some French ultramarine. Wow. And I'm happy with that. So it's a great way of painting loosely. I love the shapes, the dark and the lights. It is a beautiful subject to paint. Yeah, a memory of Turkey. I hope you've enjoyed watching this with me.